Welcome to our Tuesday, June 3rd homeschool day. It's already 10 a.m., but we've already had a full morning. We start out our morning with breakfast. And then it's raining today, which I love so much, but I went outside and got some more grapevines to feed our wild bunnies. It's about 9:10. The dough is rising really well. I think we'll do barbecue chicken pizza again for lunch. It's just been such a hit for the kids. And even though we made like my version of barbacoa and rice, like Chipotle style yesterday, it's never enough to be enough for the following day. So as much as I think it's gonna be a ton of food, it just lasts one day. My Thrive order arrived yesterday. I have some organic red lentils, organic green lentils, organic garbanzo beans. A lot of these things I buy locally, but they're not organic. So Thrive carries the organic of these three things that we use. We use the green lentils and the garbanzo beans more than the red lentils, but red lentils is really common in certain Indian dishes that I'm not very good at making, but still try. And then the Celtic sea salt, and then doubles, more of the same. But then, I think I got 2 each, and I'll take a little time. It looks like I got 3 of those. I will take a little bit of time this morning to put everything away. I usually put all of these types of dry goods into our mason jars, and that way it always takes up the same amount of space. If I were to put this into the pantry, it would take up more space since we always use mason jars. But I did order a few things that I've never had before from Thrive Market, so I don't know how they're going to turn out. I hope I only order 2 of each kind, because if we don't like them, I don't want to have extras. A few weeks ago at Trader Joe's, I found this tikka masala curry sauce, and it was really delicious. I only bought 1 because I wasn't sure, and then every time we've gone since, I have stocked up. Like, I've bought 2 or 4 of them every time because they are a hit. So I saw that Thrive Market had their own version. Oh wait, that's not it. These are beans for a recipe that I've got coming up. So there are 2 in there, like for bean dip and like tacos and things. Okay, hold on, because I think it must be in one of these bags. Yep. Okay, so this one, wow, this is a lot more. So this is 12.5 ounces versus 8 ounces. Okay, I guess from a price perspective, it must be around the same price. But this, I think, this size jar would be enough for one. I don't want to say one serving, but would serve our family of 5 for one meal. When I bought this kind, I had to use 2 of them, and then it ended up being a little bit too saucy. So anyway, I just add more chicken. So this one is the vegan tikka masala sauce. And I have one child who has dairy allergies, and so I was really happy to find a vegan option, because a lot of times in Indian food, there is a lot of dairy that you just are not expecting. And we learned the hard way over the years. When my child was really young, we would think, okay, this little piece of bread is going to be okay and it had milk in it, or this rice is going to be okay and it had dairy in it, had milk or yogurt in it. And so there's a lot of dairy in a lot of Indian food. So finding vegan options for him, he'll still eat meat, is fabulous. Okay, so I think the other one, there's one in here, I think it's a butter chicken masala sauce. So this one does have cream in it. I have tried to make chicken tikka masala in a curry sauce and butter chicken, and both times my recipes have been they've been failures. It's not even like, oh, it's kind of, they've been bad. So far, I'm excited to try both of these. My ultimate goal is to learn how to make it from scratch, but in the meantime, I'm happy to have both of these because that's one of my favorite recipes, like at an Indian restaurant. So I'm happy to have that. And I think this one is the same. Oh no, it's different. Okay, so oh wait, no, it's the same as this one. So 2 of these, 1 of these, a bunch of dried goods. This is from Trader Joe's. And then there was I did get some taco seasoning blend. That is something else that I haven't been able to master really well, is to make my own spice mixture for tacos and other Mexican food. So we're still learning. Although I have to say that our chipotle version of barbacoa and rice was such a hit. Like that recipe turned out amazing. So that I can make from scratch, but other things I'm utilizing some prepared food in order to make those recipes. But over the years, it's been my goal to learn how to make a lot of these things from scratch. And when I look back, I'm impressed at the things that I can now make from scratch that I used to think that there's no way. Of course, you have to buy a box of pancake mix or pre-made salad dressing. So those things I know how to make all by myself now. I put everything away, but let's put all of these dried goods into our mason jars. I have a funnel here. Hopefully it all fits in the 3 that I have. I might need another one for the red lentils. Last one. Hey, they all fit. That's brilliant. I cut out one of the labels and it fits just about right on the top of the lid. I used to add the labels to the jars themselves. I know it's not that pretty, but then the adhesive would stay on, and I haven't. There's like a way to clean that off, but I just never really got around to doing that. And so I think it's just easier for me to put the label right here, and I've got a little bit of tape. All right, that's done. I'm gonna put those into the cabinet. So now it's 10 a.m. We're finally back in the schoolroom. The chalk drawing from yesterday has been updated to reflect the proper Martian sky. So that's done. And I actually really like it. At first I was unsure about it, but actually I think it has just the right vibes. Let's go ahead and pick some opening activities for today. I think we'll do our trivia cards that we made several years ago. Let's pull this book called The Starry Messenger. Hopefully this will be a quick book as opposed to some of the other resources that we have. Definitely going to play Destination Mars. I'm going to put this book aside. We're not going to use it at all for this unit. We were meant to start Galileo for Kids yesterday, but we didn't. So I'm going to map out how many pages we want to do a day in order to get through that book. Here are the main lesson books. Mental math we're going to do today. We probably won't do the Jupiter book. This book we want to go through. I think I need to spend a little bit of time going through this book and deciding which pages we want to cover, because I know for sure we won't be able to get through the whole book. And so I want to be really selective about the passages that we are using. But so far, I'm enjoying this book. Don't think we'll do Saturn. I did really want to do this book. Let's see if we can squeeze that in for this unit. Faraway Worlds just is imaginative and fun, but it's not necessary. So I'm going to put that in the pile of probably not going to get to, but if we do, that's great. The Sun we'll keep, and this one I don't think we'll do. So we just need to find, oh, here it is. The Mystery of Mars. I still want us to go through this book as much as we can. But yesterday I started looking for some more current resources. And while some of them initially I had linked to the extensive blog post on astronomy on my website at Pepper and Pine, which you can find in the description box below, I think I'm going to take those resources off because I haven't actually seen them or used them. I was just trying to find more current options versus some of these ones that are more dated. However, I'm starting to be a little skeptical of some of the more current selections, especially if they're self-published. I have like a feeling that they might be AI generated or at least assisted in both the content and the illustration. So I wasn't feeling really great about that. So I think I'm still just going to try to look for more current resources, probably at the library. So I'll probably make a little trip to the library to see what we can find. And then if I can browse through those books, and if there are ones that I really like, then I'll consider getting them. I forgot, there's also the Nicholas Copernicus book that I want us to read together, because this is going to be a quick read, as it's a rich, informative picture book. But my daughter already started the Nicholas Copernicus biography yesterday, and I'm going to have her continue with that today. And I'll also map that out and decide like how many pages I want her reading every day. She also has to do daily written narrations for that book as well. So that's going to be a lot. There's going to be a lot of work for this unit, and there's going to be a lot of work that I'm expecting of my daughter. In part because I think there's so much to cover in this unit. It's so rich. And in part because we don't have a lot of time. So we have to work double speed. Okay, let's begin. This is a really fun and fast game. Not super educational, but nevertheless, it seems to have been like the game that we've been playing almost consistently every day for this unit. Mars plus 2 moons is 3 points. 1, 2, 3. We just finished playing Destination Mars. Now we're going to do, I think, 4 cards each for our trivia cards. And if we've already done one of the questions on the back, then we'll just skip to like the next question. Okay, let's see. Neptune is the farthest planet from the sun. Or Neptune is larger than Uranus. True or false? Okay, Mercury. Question is, the surface of Earth used to look like Mercury filled with craters. Why does Mercury still have craters? A, because there is no atmosphere. Oh, I feel like we did this one before. B, because it is so close to the sun. Or C, because it still gets hit by asteroids. Mars. Mars's moons are thought to be asteroids. True or false? That was fun. We just finished our game. The only thing that I am trying to figure out what to do is that the corners are quite pokey and sharp because we laminated it. But otherwise, we had a really good time playing that. I think we'll do the Starry Messenger next. This is the story of Galileo. For hundreds of years, most people thought the Earth was the center of the universe. It's nearly 11 a.m. We just finished the Starry Messenger. I like this story, but there's so much about the way that it's written that is really frustrating as a reader. It has a lot of text that's in not just cursive, but I think it's almost italic cursive, which makes it really difficult to read. And also, when it comes to books like this, and I have others like this, for me, it's really frustrating to read because some of the text, you can just read it page by page. It's just written in regular print. But then there are illustrations that include a lot of text that make it difficult to read, not just because of the script, because I just find captions difficult to read. I don't know which order to read them in. And then if you're reading this, then do you read this next? Do you read this on every page? And in some cases, it's written on the side, and then here it's written like all curvy. So this, for me, is frustrating. For you, maybe you like the creative way that it's been displayed. The illustrations I find quite interesting and intriguing. They almost look like they are drawn in a style that is historically significant or historically accurate. Overall, I still like having this book. I think it's really beautifully done. I just find it frustrating, but it's a quick read. It goes over Galileo and Copernicus a little bit, but it's primarily Galileo, and I like the illustrations overall, and it's quick. And so some of the other picture books that we have take so much time, and they're not quite the same enjoyable read because this is written differently than, say, a nonfiction picture book. So it's now 11 a.m. We're going to take a short break. The dough is probably done rising. I'm going to quickly make some barbecue chicken pizza. It is early. We never break for lunch this early, but I'm going to go ahead and make that at this point, and then we will resume our lessons. I'm hoping earlier than normal. I'm hoping this is not going to be a 2-hour lunch break. Let's see. Let's find out what happens. Let's check on the dough. Oh, wow. That's ready to go. That's just perfect. It's 11:20. I quickly partially cooked the chicken this way. Then I'm going to cut it up and then put it back in here to finish cooking. It's just a quicker way than slicing it all up or cubing up the chicken first. It's easier. It cuts so much easier this way. Actually, that looks almost entirely cooked. So I'm going to put it back on the stove and let it warm up with the barbecue sauce. It's 12:30 in the afternoon. We're done with lunch. All of lunch and prep and everything took an hour and a half. So longer than I hoped, but less than 2 hours. So that's a good thing. We have now 3 full hours to do whatever lessons we can do before my daughter has an evening obligation. So she's not quite up yet because she's doing some chores, laundry, etc. So I'm guessing we'll probably start in about 15 minutes or so. So I'm going to look through some of the resources right now and decide on hopefully putting together an activity for our astronomy main lesson block. Not one that I think that we can do today, most likely, but in this time, I'm just trying to use whatever little pockets of time we have, because by early evening, she will be occupied. And if we do have an opportunity to do any homeschooling this evening, like after she's done with sports this evening, then I really want to get back into reading our history selection, and this is Khalid ibn al-Walid. And when she gets back from doing chores, I think we'll start with probably one of our anatomy books. And then one thing that we haven't been doing consistently is a review when we are moving through our main lessons for astronomy. What's nice is that our book by Charles Kovacs, the astronomy book, naturally does a review within the first couple of paragraphs of the new chapter. So that's kind of nice to that's included, but I need to remember to actually have that as part of our lesson. Otherwise, I think we're missing a really important aspect of the lesson, which calls on the student to recall the information from the previous day or even 2 days earlier, rather than just resorting to the text to provide that review or just moving forward and not having that review. So these are little things that are really easy to overlook and move on and not see as significant, when really that is where the learning is. When you call on the student to review the previous lesson, that is so much learning. And when you actually write that lesson down into a main lesson book, again, that's so much learning. you're just not, in my opinion, you're just not getting it if you're just delivering the lesson. It's 12:55. We just finished our review for chapter 22, and we are going to begin chapter 23. It's titled The Circle. We have looked at the movements of the sun in the sky, though we only see. It's 1:15 p.m. This chapter was short, so we're done with it, even though we did take a few moments to have some discussions, and I also pulled out this wood round in order to find the circles in it, because the book had mentioned things that were living are circular or globe in nature, like our skull, or things that are living have more of a rounded form versus things that are non-living, like crystals have sharp angles or mountains have ridges, etc. We're going to move on to our mental math because we're caught up. It's so quick and easy. And these ones, this week's mental math is like even extra easy. All right, 10 times 10 plus 34. 1% of 600, 50% of 600, 51% of 600. We're done with mental math really fast. It is now 1:25, and we are going to do a little bit of our anatomy. I love these books. I know they're old. I really enjoy them. And though we're done with our anatomy main lesson block, we are still using some of these resources as part of our opening activities. And this book itself is really informative, and it's a nice way to review some of the material that we've already done in our anatomy main lesson block. So we'll probably read this for like 15 minutes before we move on to another resource. It is 1:45, 1:50 p.m. We just finished reading a few pages. I'm not in any rush since we have a few resources for anatomy that we're just doing as part of our opening activities. We concluded this lesson with this demonstration where you cover your right eye and look at the dog in the picture with your left eye, and you hold the page about 6 inches away, and then you slowly move it away from your eye, keeping your focus on the dog until the ghost goes through your blind spot and you don't see it. It was really a great demonstration. And what I have really enjoyed is that these books have all contained really super simple, and they're both informative and educational projects or demonstrations. And I love that. I love that. And so this demonstration, first of all, super easy because it's contained in the book, and also very educational at the same time. And so all of the books in this series, I would say, contain probably at least 5, maybe more demonstrations or very simple projects that you can do that really help illustrate the point or the concepts in the book. And I especially liked the one on ears. This is the very first one that I got. And this one actually would work really well with our acoustics main lesson block for physics, because it had a lot of projects that I thought would work really well for that. And we're already done with our physics at the moment. We're done with acoustics. It's worth revisiting. But something to note for these books is that it does contain those projects. Of course, those are the kinds of things that I love so much. Okay, so it's about 1:50 p.m. and we are going to move on to, I was going to do Nicholas Copernicus, this picture book, but since we already did Starry Messenger, I think what we'll do instead is do our main lesson for astronomy based on this book. It goes through all the constellations first and the stories of the constellations. And since we already did, let's see, we did, where is it? Perseus and Andromeda yesterday, so we'll review that story briefly. I'm not really interested in doing too much work related to these stories. I do want us to draw the constellations or understand them a little bit better, especially how to identify them in the night sky. But I think we're going to move on. We're going to do a brief review and then move on to lesson number 4 and go over this story. But at the same time, and I think I already put the book away, I want to review, I want to do like a little comparison with these constellations and the stories compared to other cultures and the stories they came up with the constellations. So I'm going to use partly Sky Atlas, but I have to double check and see if those stories are going to be contained in this book. And the other book that I want to use is patterns in the sky, because this one has other stories as well. And I think that that will be really interesting to compare the two. I just looked up the story that we recently did for Perseus and Andromeda, and it does start with the, oh gosh, where'd it go? Here it is. So the Legend of Princess Andromeda. So it does start with a very similar story, and they think that the origin of the story was actually Mesopotamia and even Ethiopia, which would change some aspects of the story. Very interesting. So this part of the pages, or the chapter, and I didn't finish reading all of it, but it seems like it's the same story that we previously read yesterday. So same characters, same scenario. But then this part here gives like a very interesting alternative. And I don't think that this is something, I thought like maybe I could read this aloud to my daughter, but actually it doesn't seem like it's going to be something that's going to go over as well as a read aloud. So what I'm going to do, and then here you can see that the Chinese saw in this part of the sky the house of Sandal, so the first house of the white tiger in the same constellation, a group of stars. So what I think I'll do is review this on my own rather than reading this aloud, because I don't think that this will go over well as a read aloud, even though this I think would be fine as a read aloud, but this is almost identical to the lesson that we did yesterday. But this is the part that I find really intriguing, is the stories that are different times in the past, like different historical time periods and different cultures. So great additional resource. We've had it for many years and never really got to including it in the way that I wanted to. So hopefully this time I'll be able to do that. But we're gonna now continue to Pegasus and lesson number 4. It's 2:10 p.m. We just finished this lesson on Pegasus. We are going to take a break to pray, and when we come back, we will work on this book, but I feel like we need something in between. Let me look for what we can do in between before we get into these lessons, which I think will be not as interesting as one of the planet books. This is what I was looking for. We're going to read some of this book, and I actually don't think I marked the pages that we finished, but I'm really enjoying this book because it is single subject. It is really going deep into just every aspect of Mars. And so far, we're only just a little bit in. I believe we read this page, and I think we'll start on this page, which is the big canal, the Grand Canyon of Mars. It's 2:55. We've read several pages. There were some pages actually that we read again because I had not marked the pages that we were done with, and I think I might have skipped one. But really intriguing book. Really, really enjoying it. I think that we'll probably finish this tomorrow. I'm just going to put my highlighter in here so that I don't forget what page we're on. So we're going to be leaving now for my daughter's sports for the late afternoon, and we will not resume anything until about 7 p.m. is my guess. And by that point, I don't think that we're going to want to do Galileo, so I think we will just stick to Khalid ibn al-Walid for our nighttime reading. Oopsies, there go the books. And then at that point, I might have my daughter continue reading her independent reading for Nicholas Copernicus. But after I drop her at sports, I'm going to go through and do a little bit of lesson planning for this unit, because we're now 2 weeks in with no lesson plan, which is not necessarily a problem. It's just that since we are a little bit on a time crunch, I do want to make sure that we're getting to some of the highlights for this main lesson block, and that would be Kepler's 3 laws of motion, talking about Copernicus and Tycho Brahe. Those are ones that we definitely want to get to. So for that reason, we need to be a little bit more dedicated with how we're approaching this main lesson block. And also, I definitely want to add in potentially one more, probably as many as we can, but at least one more chalk drawing, although this one is really growing on me, so we're gonna have to figure out what to do. Maybe pull out the smaller chalkboards and do some of our illustrations on that. Okay, so let's go head over to our sports for this afternoon, and if I don't catch you later in the day, thank you for spending Tuesday with us, and I'll see you Wednesday. Welcome back to the schoolroom. It's 4:20 p.m. and the rain is coming down. We're expecting a little bit of thunder as well, so that's kind of exciting for Southern California. Oh, we sometimes get rain, but we rarely get lightning and thunder. So I have a couple hours to work on lesson. There's some thunder. I hope you can hear that. So I've got a couple hours to work on some lesson prep, lesson planning as well. And what I'm going to be doing is going through this book and doing some lesson planning for this book, as well as, I gotta see where it might be. Maybe my daughter took the Nicholas Copernicus book into her room to read, but I also want to check how many pages that book is so that I can decide on how many pages per day I'd like her to read. Oh, there's a little bit more thunder. And then beyond that, if I have time this evening, or it looks like it's evening, but it's only barely even 4:20 to 4:25 p.m. I'm going to work on the anatomy main lesson book work. So this is something that has been weighing heavy on my mind for weeks now, because we just haven't gotten to that lesson book work. And we've worked through so many lessons, and this is an issue that happens especially at the end of a main lesson block. Oh, I can hear the thunder rumbling as well. All right, so let's go start working on that. The way that I lesson plan for a book like this is to check to see how many pages are in the book. And so there are 134 pages. And for a book like this, I would assign about 10 pages a day. I'm going to start with 10 pages a day, and let's see how that works out for my daughter. It might be too slow. Like she might be so quick that this is barely 20 minutes worth of work, or it might be too much and she gets behind. Additionally, for a book like this, I would want her to do written narration. So that's going to take more time as well. So going 10 pages a day, that's 13 days. So that's roughly 2 weeks. And if we start today, and today is Tuesday. So if we continue today, she can do the reading tonight, and she's already started. Then we should be done by the end of next week. For that, I use these full sticky back Post-its. And I use these in my lesson planning all the time. And I'll usually stick it on the back of the book. And I got this book secondhand, so it used to be in a library. Oh, that's more thunder. And then that's crooked, and that shouldn't be an issue, but it is for me at the moment. So I will then write on the back today's date, pages 1 through 10. And then I can write every date and even like a little checkbox just so that she can keep track, or 10 pages a day, daily, start date, end date. But I think it's going to be better for her to have a little check mark and like daily lesson plan to show the number of pages for each day. I did accidentally put 6-2, which was yesterday, but that's okay. Oop, more thunder. I did add in Friday, but we're not doing school on Friday because it's Eid. But I'll just have her maybe do like 12 pages or 15 pages on some of these other days just to make up for that. Then I'll go ahead and write the next week here. Just realized that I accounted for 13 days of reading, but Monday through Friday, I'm so silly. So it's going to be into the following week after as well. Okay, so it's all written out. It's going to take us about 2.5 weeks. And then I did the small checkbox to mark off when she's read those pages, and then the large checkbox for when she's written her narration. And on the last day, I did just account for 4 pages, but honestly, she can read 15 pages, 20 pages. It doesn't matter. This just helps us stay on track for where we're starting and where we want to finish. And if she gets this all done in 1 week with all of the narrations, that's fine. I just don't want it to take more than 2.5 weeks. And there's more thunder. We're on to this book. This book, Galileo for Kids, has 150 pages. And I think that if we do 10 pages a day as well for this book, that should be a pretty good pace for getting through the book in around the same amount of time that my daughter will be doing her independent reading for Nicholas Copernicus. I do want us to include the book on Kepler as well, so we're gonna have to figure out how to squeeze that one in. And as I'm going through this, there are 25 activities, and I know that we're not going to do all of them, but for this first one, and it doesn't exactly relate to astronomy, but it relates a little bit more to the time period when Galileo was alive and making his discoveries, but it's basically using pen and paper to communicate rather than the technology that we have today. So since we have all of the materials to do that, I thought we should at least, I should at least offer that as a project. So we have some of our paper here. Let me pull this whole thing out. This is like some paper looks like parchment. Maybe I should turn on some more lights. It's still just the afternoon, but this little rainstorm has made it quite dark. But it looks like parchment paper, and then we have the calligraphy materials in here as well. Before cleaning out the school closet, our calligraphy materials were in 2 different spots, but now they're all together. So we have some quills that we made. We have a lot of ink, and we have the wax seals as well. Actually, I don't think we'll use this kind. This is using a glue gun, but we actually have the wax seals, and I think there is somewhere in here, there's the metal seal, but actually I have more of them. So I think since I have all of the materials, I think it would be nice just to do one of these projects. And maybe what I'll do, it would be really neat, since my daughter hasn't yet written up any of her narrations for Nicholas Copernicus, and I think we should do some for Galileo as well. Wouldn't it be neat to make all the narrations on parchment paper with like a quill? And that would be so hard after a while, so maybe I'll just give her a fountain pen and we can actually fold each of them into a letter and seal it. I think I want to do that. That would be so much fun. I even have some envelopes here that I made a while ago. That would be kind of neat. Then we can send them back and forth to each other. Yeah, why don't we do that? It's nearly 5 o'clock and I've written out the basic lesson. Oh. Wow, that one was pretty loud. I wrote out the lesson plan on the back of the book with the projects that we want to do. We are missing 20 pages because at the end of the week, 6/20, the following week, I have Waldorf Practical Arts training in person. So that final week of June, my daughter will be doing independent reading for our astronomy unit. I also did write down a couple of the projects that we wanted to do. There are 25 in this book. I only wrote down 6. We'll probably do a little bit more. And I mostly chose the demonstrations or projects that were physics demonstrations. I think that that's going to work really well with our astronomy unit. There are more basic demonstrations as well, but I think for the age of my daughter and the focus that we want for astronomy, we're choosing ones that have a bit more science. And we are doing the calligraphy with the letters, and that's going to be enjoyable. More thunder. It's unusual, so it's kind of a novelty for us because we don't get a lot of thunder in Southern California. Okay, so it is just about 5:05 p.m. The lesson planning for this is done. So now I'm going to work on hopefully some anatomy, and then that's it for the day. So thank you for joining us on this Tuesday, and I will see you Wednesday. It's 6:05 p.m. The rain has calmed down, so has the thunder. I've just picked up my daughter from sports. She's going to have some dinner, some leftover pizza from lunch, and then we will probably start some evening lessons at around 6:45 p.m. And she will either do some independent reading from her book, Nicholas Copernicus, or what I'd rather do is for us to read together in Galileo for Kids, read about 10 pages. There won't be time for a demonstration tonight. And then I'm gonna see if she can do a little bit of key 2 geometry, but otherwise that will be it for the school day. It's 6:45 p.m. My daughter is starting to read her selection for today. She said that the first page actually starts on page 8, so she's right on track. She's reading page 10 to 20, and then she will write up her narration in this main lesson book that has more lined pages than blank pages, but there are a few blank pages that she can do some illustrations in. It's 6:50 p.m. We are finally ready to start Galileo for Kids. We will do 10 pages tonight. The Science and Astronomy Before Galileo, Chapter 1. The earliest astronomers were simply observant and curious people who happened to notice the movement of the heavenly bodies. It's 7:15. We are stopping on page 10 right before the section on Tycho Brahe. We will continue with a little bit more work in the evening. My daughter is going to continue with her Nicholas Copernicus book, but for the teaching that I'm doing for the evening, we are finally done. Thank you for coming along on our Tuesday, and I'll see you Wednesday.